Welcome back to Made Up of Wires. We are decompiling Castlevania Symphony of the Night. In the background, I have a build going, and hopefully it succeeds. It's relatively clean. So if you're not familiar with the Symphony of the Night decompilation project, you can go to SotN.z.dev. It is failing for some reason. You can go to SotN.z.dev, where you'll find information about the Symphony of the Night decompilation project, and you can find the status of several of the overlays we've been working on. I recently was looking at some of the tooling that we use, Splat 64 or Splat being a fairly significant tool used by this project and many others. And looking at the number of, trying to make some changes there for project management reasons, make it a little easier for us. For the US PlayStation release, we're going to have 60 overlays. And for the PSP release, it's something crazy like 170 overlays. Fortunately for the PSP, 100 and I don't know, over 100 of those are weapons, and those should all go pretty quick. But we have a lot of work to do still. So go to SotN.z.dev and see the progress. You'll find a link to GitHub, and you'll find a link to Discord as well, where I'm causing all kinds of problems. Not so much today. So yesterday when we left, I talked a little bit about this library function that I'm trying to get matching between the PlayStation and the PSP. And oh, that tab is not loading. The PlayStation, both of them are very close, and I have them going through the decomp permuter at the moment. The only thing that is missing on the PlayStation side is a register swap down at the bottom, a register swap a little higher up, and then a mask that's falling into the wrong delay slot, and I'm not sure why yet that might be happening. On the PSP side, we're actually looking almost as good. A bunch of register swaps, but logically everything else works out. So there's something else going on that I haven't quite figured out yet, but hopefully we can figure that out eventually. I do have this running in the decomp permuter, and it did find some nice things, but it's running still, and I'm going to keep it running, and hopefully it'll find what else is going on. My build is actually very broken at the moment. I've been doing all kinds of things. I'm going to nuke everything. I'm going to get rid of my everything from build, everything from assets, and when you do that, you have to extract the disk again, and I'm going to see if this will continue on. So yesterday when I ended, and that window is not updating anymore. There we go. When we ended yesterday, I was playing through parts of the long library, and we found a good chunk of things that were near the lesser demon, and I want to look at some of that code today. I'm not sure if I have all those breakpoints, but I don't know if I kept the comments there. Oh yeah, something's still broken. Still broken. Oh, I have some. Is that the case? Do I have config that's broken? No, everything is clean. It may be this. I had started working on extracting the library header, and hopefully that's all it is. All right, I'm going to let that keep going, and let's see if I can find where those things were. Basically everything except for O1C F918 seem to be in this area. I'm going to try getting this going one more time. I'm going to look for some of those addresses. And we can look at a bunch of those. Unfortunately, I don't think I ended up saving my comments here, which is unfortunate. But it did look like all of this was related to things near the Lesser Demon. Give me one more second. Oh, I should have put my comment block down there. Still something not quite working. Okay, I'm going to stop messing with that. My build is broken at the moment, and I will have to see what it is. Oh, actually, I may know what it is. I've been messing with the MIPS disassembler that Splat uses. I'm trying to make some performance changes, and I may have broken something along the way. So let's just assume that's what it is, and we can keep going. We don't have to use my local build at the moment. So these are all things, like I mentioned, near the Lesser Demon. I'm going to grab one of these, and we can go back through and see what it is. So there were fleamen in this area, but the fleamen and their armor seem to be separate entities. So some of that is probably fleaman armor. I'll start from the bottom and work up, start with the smallest and kind of go from there. So we're looking at USST library, non-matchings, unknown. These are at offset 4F918, starting at 4F918. And I like using awk to pull the size and pull the file name, and then I sort by the size. We have a relatively small one. This should go quick, so let's start there. Though it should be noted that small is not always easy. I will save this work, and using decomp.me, which has presets for Symphony of the Night already. This is the tool that we primarily use for decompilation. I have shown a couple times, though. Is this one small? I have shown actually a very similar function to this, that this can be done without decompilation tools. And so that might be fun to do. Let's do that. I can't build locally, though, but we can come up with a best approximation. So usually I go through pretty fast and don't really talk about the instructions, but that's kind of why we're here and what we're doing, learning about decompilation. So this function's relatively small. Looking at it, we can't see just by looking at a label for a function or even necessarily the first couple instructions if this function is going to have any arguments. And actually, there's some function calls, for example, like get side to player, which is going to get the which side of the player you're on, or this entity is on, which we don't see any of the argument registers being used. If we look at that signature, though, my guess is that get side to player is going to take an entity, but we're never setting up those registers for that function call. And that is an optimization that GCC uses. Oh, there isn't actually. Okay, so that is a no arg function, so that's fine. It still doesn't tell us necessarily if we have any arguments, but I don't see any references to A0, A1, etc. Registers. So I'm going to make the assumption that this is a function that has no arguments. The other thing that we need to look for is what is the return value and how can we tell if there is a return value. The return value is going to be stored in register V0, and we are storing whatever is up at the offset of V1, which is our current entity at V0. So let's look at that as well. So the definition for current entity is here, and it is an entity, and the definition for the entity structure is here too. And so we want to see what is at offset 14, and that's whether or not the player is facing left. So we need to keep that in mind. So we don't know what the return type is, but we know that we're returning this value. So making it the same return type as that field is a good approximation, good initial guess. And there is no evidence right now that there's any arguments being used, so I'm going to make the assumption that there is none. So the first thing that is done is we do a call to get side to player. And the result of that is going to be stored in, like I said, register V0. We're taking register V0 and doing a bitwise AND with the value 1. And then loading which side the player is facing and doing an exclusive OR with value 1 there. So V0 is the result of our function and 1. And then we are doing the XOR with 1. And, oh, actually, I was wrong. We're storing that back to the current entities. The syntax, I always get backwards. So loads were going this way and stores were going that way. Loads were taking this value and putting it in this register. Stores were taking this value and putting in this address. And then basically we are tearing down the function, and that's it. So this was a relatively simple function. Let's see. This may not end up being XOR. this could be a not potentially as well, and then it's just being implemented as an XOR. But let's go over to decomp.me and see what this ends up looking like, and see if I was anywhere close to what this is. And what is happening? Decomp.me is mad because because I'm on the wrong, there we go, wrong system. This is not PowerPC code. And what does it look like? This looks very close. So M2C was able to get this perfect without me. Didn't need me at all. We know that getSide to player returns a unsigned 8, but that doesn't make a difference. So we can use decomp.me for simple ones. We can just do that without any tools. So I'm going to go through, and that one was 2D0. A pretty simple one. So my impression there, this may be Fleaman related because they are very hoppy dudes, that they're going to basically change their direction as soon as they get on your other side and not wait for anything else to occur. My guess is also that this function is only being called here, and we can confirm that. And if so, then I'll make it static as well. So it is being called by 304, which is in the same file. So we can make this static. And the function that calls it is this 304 function, so that'll be the next one that I look at. How quickly can we get through all of these today? Oh, I did get a match, so I will throw some confetti. All right, next one. Oh, and of course, Safari wasn't being captured. So let me go back, just showing basically the same thing I showed in the terminal before. The decompiled code that M2C produced was identical to the code that that I had written in Vim earlier. So let's move on to the next one. This one probably is going to be a little more complicated. Not terribly. I see a random in there. So we have a lot more functions. We'll have to go get signatures for those, and a little more complexity, not overly complex. Let me start with that. I'm going to just go through one by one. I'd like to also check the signatures of functions where M2C guessed the signature, and that's because occasionally that guess is wrong, and it ends up causing other problems. So just kind of going from top to bottom, I'm going to find each of these signatures. And hopefully these are already in. I think these are defined up at the ST level. ST for stage. Let's not do that recursively. One of you has to be a signature. There we go. So these functions are part of the stage overlay. So that means every stage has a copy of this function. And same with this check field collision. So there are times where these functions are not implemented identically, and then we have to choose whether or not to conditionally compile parts of it, have a custom version in one overlay or another, different things like that. It would be somewhat interesting to, sometimes the issue is bugs. Sometimes the issue is a header file isn't included when one is expected. So in this case, for get distance to player X, the return value is signed 16 and not 32. So all of these just have to be a little careful to make sure that the types are correct. Otherwise, and this is one of those cases. So play sound effects positional. It takes a single argument, which is the sound effect ID. But M2C decided that it's also takes a 32-bit argument, and that's because register A1 is being used. And M2C previously saw that A1 has a 32-bit value in it, and so it assumed that that register is being used to pass arguments, but in this case, GCC used it as fast storage. So we can't always trust what M2C does. If I would have had these signatures in place, M2C would have done a better job, and so I will go through and re-decompile. So these we don't know yet. So I'm going to leave those out. I'm going to take everything else and I'm going to put it in the context. And we have a few globals, but before doing that, I am going to get a new decompilation. And often more can be figured out by M2C. So several of these globals now are known or have closer approximations. Let's look at this 1C8. So it couldn't figure out what the what this data was, and so it also couldn't figure out the signature. Let's look at what that data is, and then hopefully we can figure out what type it's looking for. I'm going to look at the assembly stlib, look at data. Not there. Wrong. Looked for the function and not the global. This also hints that this area of memory may be related to this function. You can see some of my brokenness. There should be an extra space here. This is one of the things I was optimizing with the disassembler. So I was looking, I spent a long time last night looking and profiling Splat, which most of the time is spent in the disassembler, which is just a dependency of Splat. Of the top 15 functions that take the most time in a profiler, the one which generates this comment is up there. And I was looking for, I don't know Python at all. I hack on it for these projects. But it is not something that I really have any experience or business touching. And I was looking like, so Java, for example, I have a lot of experience with Java. C, I have a lot of experience. Perl, not so much Perl, but the other two languages definitely have very fast ways of building strings. And you can do things like pre-compute sizes or use other efficient structures to concatenate strings quickly, format strings in different ways. I don't know if Python has a high performance string library, but the built-in library does not seem to be that. And it seems to do a lot of copies for just about everything. And so you end up with things like this. It does get called a lot, I think, for the Dracula overlay, the main game engine. It's getting called 200 plus thousand times. So that's, for that overlay, that's a lot. But really all it's doing is creating a, like 32 byte string. I don't know. All right, rant over. I was able to speed up the disassembly by about 15% last night with just some pretty naive things. So what was I looking for? Rant, and then got sidetracked. So here's our data. My first guess is that this is sets of 16-bit values. We don't know how it's used, though, and it could be a struct. When we pass this pointer into a function, now that pointer becomes an argument to the next function, and we no longer, the disassembler no longer sees how this data is being used because it's not being referenced by this address, it's being referenced by register instead. So we don't necessarily get this, what the structure of that is. So I actually think I'm going to go down the rabbit hole a little further and do this next function, the function above. I'll save off this work on 304, and then we can come back to it after we know what the signature is for that function. So 304, we're going to look at 1C8. And this is another, I think, relatively short one. Yeah, not too bad. It's not something there. So there's a lot of variables on the stack. We have a some condition near the top. So we have, looks like 2 arguments. No, 1 argument. One of them is loading the current entity. So let's see what we got. This one should, I think, go pretty quickly, and my guess is that M2C will be able to do most of this. I'm going to check real quickly to see if we have an A0. Yeah, it looks like this is a no arg function as well. So I don't know. We'll see what M2C does. No, M2C decided there was an arg. So we're checking for a collision. Our arg0 does have some structure. We don't know what that is yet, so we're going to have to define that along the way. And let's look at arg0 and see where it's being used. So var s0 is our pointer. We're grabbing offset 2, we're grabbing offset 0, both 16-bit values. And then grabbing offset 4. A little tricky. And I think that's it. So we know that there are 3 16-bit values in here. They look like they are all unsigned. So I'm going to put that in the context, decompile again, and see if we get something slightly better. Not great. There are cases where it does look like just arrays are being pointed in and the index or passed in, and the indexes are well known. What happened? Oh, structure. That is not a keyword. There we go. Let's try again. Okay, so now it is using using the fields that I wanted. And let's figure out what the other issues are. Line 22. So line 22, the first field in Collider is effects. So this is a typical pattern that's used. A collider is a structure that's used to store the values of a collision detection. And so the check collision function, as you might expect, is going to do that. Typically, we call that variable just collider. So I'll rename that to make it easier to read. The temp S0, A0, anything that where we're taking references to these other things, I don't think that those are actually useful or done that way. We have a really weird condition statement here where we're doing variable assignment inside the condition, and then doing another check. So we can break that out into 2 conditions. So that should be the same as saying this, do all the assignments, and then checking here, and then we need to add the end of our condition. We have a loop that we need to deal with. I'm going to flip these around for now. I'm not sure if this is going to be a do while or a while yet. Oh, I need to fix all this. Okay, I think we're still at about the same 86%. So let's clean up this loop. So the temp v0 is what's driving this loop, and temp v0 is just var s3. So here we can say, well, arg1 is greater than var s3 plus plus, and then get rid of all of this and make this a while. And it doesn't really move the needle on coverage, but that's okay. I'm actually going to change this to a for loop, so var s3 will become I. And it's not being used anywhere else, just to drive that loop. All right, so then var s1 and var s2 are position x and position y, so we can rename them that way. A little easier. And the cast is not necessary, or shouldn't be. These are signed, but because we're assigning them to unsigned values, we'll get the correct instruction. All right, and so then down below, so here, temp A1 is the same as the position, y. And pos y is just plus equals. Much simpler than M2C figured out. And then pos x is the same as temp A0, so we can get rid of that as well. And same thing here. And this is helping identify what these fields are now as well. Get rid of that. So temp S0 is the last one, which is really just this B value with no cast. So A is the X position, B is the Y position. The last one is this var S0, which is just the next. We're just incrementing this. So we have, this is pretty simple, just a XY pair, which is point 16. This looks like an array of 0.16s. And so here we just have X and Y, and then we're incrementing. Don't need the cast. And then changing the Y position, so again a plus equals, to the collider value. What is 16 is X and Y. Sorry, this is a, so I will add I'll keep this variable here. This is just our current pointer to these points. temp s0 is no longer necessary. And we need to update the declaration to match. And compiler is no longer happy with us. So somewhere along the way, we were very close and then got further. I'm going to back up just a little bit. I'm going to, I think the first thing that I'll do is get back to where this was around 86% and see where things went wrong. I wasn't following along the way. There we go. So what I'll do instead of going directly to, actually I'll go directly to 0.16 first. So we have a 0.16 pointer. I'll fix the signature and then go about it that way. And I think that'll work out a little better. So everywhere there's a B should be Y, and everywhere there's an A should be X. And so we're going to after, yeah, that makes sense. So var s0 can just be var s0 plus plus. And all right, so now we have the same similarity, but the right types. So I'm going to go through and get rid of a bunch of these types. Temp A0, I will fix that right away. So that does seem like it should just be position X plus equals var s0x. But I have been wrong before. No, yeah, there's something here that is not liked. So position X, and this may be it, is listed as unsigned 16, but it should be signed. So yeah, now that works without having to do all the hacks. This position Y should be able to do the same thing. And we're doing a plus equals there as well. This temp s0 load should no longer be necessary. There is something else along the way, though, that is not matching. I'm not sure what yet. I can get rid of this mask. So there's some shifts here, which may indicate that our I maybe isn't a sine 32, it's a sine 16. Okay, that's fine. I can live with that. I don't know if arg0, the arg0 pointer, if we need a separate variable for it or not, or if we can get away with just using arg0 directly. I'm going to try it and see, but I'm not sure if that's going to work. I'm just doing a little more cleanup here. So let's go here and just use arg0. No, yeah. Oh yeah, no difference. The PSP version may not be as amenable to that change. So we're coming through. We're basically getting, this makes more sense. We're getting the size of, this arg1 is the size of the number of points here. So we can make that change as well, call that size. And I'll just call it arg0 points. And I think that's, I'll come back to this maybe, but we have enough information now to know the signature for that other function. And most of this is done. There is something, something else going on. I'm not quite sure what. Sometimes the order makes a difference, but not today. So let's go back over here and we'll add our signature. I'm going to put that in the context. And then we can run a new decompile. And so now we have one other function that we don't know. This E28 is going to be a 0.16 array. 2DO is actually the function that we did by hand earlier. So we know the signature for that as well. It returns a, we believe, an unsigned 16. That in the context as well. So we still have two data types that we don't know. So let's go back and find what those are. So this looks very similar. Pairs of 16-bit values. I'm going to make the assumption that that is also a 0.16. Let's see how it's being used. It's being treated as an array. The offset in the array is 4. Temp A1. Just grabbing the X field from that. So that seems to me like it is an array of 0.16s. And then the next one looks like the same thing. So a bunch of points. So all of these functions are written by different people with different styles, just like any code that you'd work on. And so some people like doing this, having a bunch of globals where they're keeping track of the state of something. Other people will throw it into an entity, into the entity extension. You just never know how it's going to be done. One day maybe we'll have some interviews or something with these developers and can ask them why. All right, so we have some kind of looking through, checking some flags. We don't necessarily know what those flags are until we observe the behavior. It does look like flag 100 is, this is possibly the explosion when the armor gets broken off the fleeman. So if that's the case, then we play a sound, show an explosion, and then leave. This looks like a timer to me. So we're going through and grabbing the value from this extension. Timers are often at offset 0. Then if it's not 0, decrementing, otherwise setting the hitbox to something else. So it's possible that I'm going to guess, again, kind of wild supposition, but the flea man has his armor on. The flag is set to identify that the armor has been destroyed. So we're going to play a sound effect, return the next loop. We're going to come through the next frame. We're going to set a timer. And so for 13 frames, sorry, not 13, whatever this timer is, and we can see, try to find where this timer is set. It doesn't look to be set here. Maybe set by the Fleeman armor. For that many frames, we're not going to... the Fleeman himself is not going to have a hitbox. But then we'll enable the hitbox once the explosion and animation is done. That's my guess. We'll see. I do need to get this compiling. I don't think that there's anything additional to do up here. So I just need to fix these compilation errors. 119. So here we're grabbing the X value. And down here we're grabbing the Y value. These are going to be likely offset slightly, and so I'll probably have to fix something with the alignment there. Or it's possible that these are all X's and these are all Y's. I'm not sure. We'll see. Step, we change step plus plus. I'm going to break out of the switch. Here we have a possibly a fixed point value. We're comparing this to sine 16 max. Let me see what this is. The fixed point values are 32 bits though. This would be on the lower side of that. I'm going to go kind of top to bottom and clean things up. We're going to have to add an entity extension for this. Let's, should we keep going? Maybe. Let's undo these, excuse me, undo these go-tos. So we see this a lot where something like this, where it's going to do some logic and then return. Those will get optimized out into the same thing when the same register is being used. So here var v0 is being used. In this case, it's always being checked against 0, and then the step is getting set to 3. So we can change it to something a little simpler. Basically, often the step value is included in there as well, but in this case it's not. And we can look down here at line 66 to see if we've done approximately the right thing. It does look like there's a shift happening. So we know that get distance to player X has a return type of assign 16, but if we don't have that definition, it gets treated as assign 32. And I think that's what's happening here is it just was not declared. And so the rest of this looks fine. Because the last thing that's done in after the switch is returning, I'm going to change any returns that I see in any of these cases to breaks. And that's just my own personal preference. I do want to see if there's any other references to block 15, because if not, I can get rid of it and simplify this statement. Often what happens here, so a variable is being set and then step is being assigned to it. My guess is that step is just being set inline here, and that's going to provide a closer match than setting a variable. There is the assignment to 7C as well. Or sorry, the load from 7C on line 55. That should be assigned value. So we know that the timer is signed. And again, that's my guess is that's a timer. But that would mean all of these up here should treat this as signed as well. If we did define that entity extension, M2C would give us a nicer starting point. So here we have some hit params. Let's see what block 20 is. Block 20 is just setting A0 to 2. My guess is that down here somewhere A0 is relevant. Block 34, we're just duplicating this as well. So A0 may be a condition. There may be ways that this could be rewritten to be something that's not as obtuse. This may be a switch, an inner switch as well. I think that's likely. Usually when a bunch of these funny comparisons are all over the place, that indicates that this was a switch at one point. And probably this as well. I'm going to take a break. I will be right back, and there will be more decompilation. Stand by. All right, I'm back. I was mentioning that I found some of Mr. Mitty's scratches, but now he's denying that they're his. Let me see if I can find what I'm talking about. There's one. Oh, maybe it's not yours. Is it? No, it's not yours. I apologize. That one wasn't yours. I did find another one of yours. Not in library, but I thought somewhere else. Maybe it was related to did you do anything in the in libcd? Because I was working in there recently as well. All right, let's go back to this one. So what I was trying to do before I left was determine whether these block 20s are relevant or not. In this case, block 20 is setting bar A0 to 2 and then falling through to down here. So it does not seem necessary. Another one. And this one's a little more difficult because we have to bypass all this other stuff, but that just means that this is, oops, I mean to get rid of the RA0 assignment. That just means all of this is part of an else block. Big long one. Well, apologies for calling you out then. I really did think that it was something that you had done. But anyway, so let's untangle all of this. So we're looking at hit params. I'm not familiar with this field. I'm going to go through and do some searching over here and see if there is anything relevant. I don't know that we have any. It doesn't look like necessarily any enums or macros for hit params. Stone Rose does have a switch related, and my guess is that this is a switch. So let's look at that and see. So it looks like 0, 1, and 2 cases are defined for Stone Rose. I'm looking at this. So we have up to case 3 at least. So I think we can say case, basically everything but case 0 is going to be this. Let me see if there's any. So that doesn't seem necessary to be a switch then. Down below, I am going to call, usually I call the random value, I call it roll, like a dice roll, die roll. And then this is it's just a masking of the roll. Let's see if we just treat this as an unsigned 8, will be good enough. We'll get the mask for free. And then anywhere temp v1 is used, we can just use a roll. That seems fine. So the rest of this is dealing with the chance for the roll. So maybe it's not, if the roll's not 3, roll's not 2. That does look like a switch. So we only have 7 cases to deal with. So everything but case 2 case 3, sorry, case 4, case 5, case 6, and case 7 are all going to be 1. Sorry, going to be 0, and then case 3 is 1. And of course, breaking out of all of these. And so if we're less than 3 and we're not 2, that means we are 0 or 1. So for this is greater or equal to 0, that is case 0 and case 1. Which would give you 3. And then this must mean default is 0. if I'm reading that right. And how is that? Much further than when I started. And it was complicated enough that it generated a jump table. So not it. Is there other, what can we say? Any other similarity between these? It's almost like the last. No, let me back all that out. I thought that would resolve to a switch. I might go through though and grab the PSP version because that will likely tell us if there's a switch. And let me first, I'm actually going to invert these and see if that makes them easier to follow. No, it's getting further away again. Yeah, let me just grab the PSP version. Sometimes you have to go down to get up. Okay, so to grab the PSP version, I need to find a unique value. 3FFF is reasonably unique. So I'll start there. The sound effects position may be the most unique, though. We should look that up as well. That likely is an explosion sound effect. Loaded in a couple places. I'm going to look at this top one. The top one is relatively late in that file, and this function is relatively late in the overlay. And what is there? So we have play sound effects positional, entity explosion spawn. So we have those labels, initialize entity. Is that in here? Yes. This looks very likely. I will start a new scratch for that. And we know that this is I believe it's an entity update function, yep. So we can add that signature. There's going to be several things that don't quite match up yet. And I'll have to add to the context as well, but they won't make sense yet until animate entity, and all these were there as well. Okay. So what do I know? So I'll grab those from the PlayStation context. I'm going to leave out the distance to player functions. Grab a new decompile. So we need to identify which ones of these are going to be the arrays of signed 16s. I'm sorry, point arrays. There's point arrays. And those are going to be the ones to these unknown function calls. Oh, I can't type there. That's not mine. We have these other two functions as well. I'm actually not going to worry about those. I'm going to move over and just grab the PlayStation version. And there will be a few more variables that I need to pull over. And then, actually, I will leave those in the source. And then I'll add my header to make it easier to find later. All right. And so our match on the PSP side, not looking too hot, not looking too good. Oh, that's because I created this as not a PSP function, but as a PlayStation function. So none of that was relevant. I'm going to try again. Wondering why that was looking so bad. I will grab the context from here. And I will add those other variables to the context, even though they will end up getting duplicated. I think it'll be better for the initial decompile. And I think that should be it. I will delete this one. And now we should have hopefully something that's a little better. I did it again! Why? How could I? What am I doing? Okay. PlayStation Portable. That's what we need. Come on. Third time's a charm. Yes, that looks better. Not the best decompile for sure, but it is better. I can delete this other one now. What a poor showing. And let's see what M2C would have done. It's grabbing a local variable to the pass-in arg. That is possible. It happens. Not frequently, but it is something that could happen. What I want to see is it also chose the unsigned 16 load, but then it casts as a signed 16. I'm not sure why it didn't just choose the signed 16 field, but the size was right, so maybe that's what it was going for. The step mask, we don't need that. It'll happen implicitly. All of this looks good so far. I'm not sure why params is being masked twice. That doesn't seem necessary. All of this is looking really close. This is the first thing that I see that isn't. There's a return immediately. And there's no additional check here. So that's could be a difference, maybe not. This makes a lot more sense to make this an and instead of a nested condition. I dig that change. This is suggesting move entity as an argument. I don't know if that's true. No, it has no argument. So this was a switch, and I just totally botched it. So I had good intuition, but poor execution. So let's fix that then. Var A0 looks like it should be a unsigned 8 if it's not already. Yeah, and my logic was relatively close. And I guess I didn't pick up that this was the other cases in here. My assumption is that when GCC is compiling a switch, it kind of has different levels based on the magnitude of possible cases. And this must be within the magnitude of 3 bits that it creates all the cases for. So that helped quite a bit. The same thing is going to be down here as well. Probably very similar, except for the default case. So I think actually these are a little bit different. I'm going to grab all this though, because it is pretty close. So 0 and 1 are different. And there is no case 3. And then the default is this other condition. I'm going to try that. I screwed something up along the way. Let's see, I don't know. So a little closer, not quite right, but a little closer. So what are we doing down here? We're checking if the player is facing 0, usually facing left, usually not a equality check, usually just a truthy check. Temp A1 is the X velocity. So this is a bar A0 looks like it's a flag for a sound effect that's going to be played, depending on this random roll. I'm going to grab this. So basically this is checking a range of velocity. Velocity is a fixed point value. I think it's a SotN fixed point value. Instead of SP10, we're going to be using self, because I don't think that SP10 is real. That gets us very close. Let's take that over to the PlayStation side and see how this is looking. 2%, a lot of work for 2%, but we're a little closer. Let's go and look at the, so we do have one issue. This was supposed to be velocity y, I believe. Maybe. Yep. A little bit closer. So my thought about this originally was that this has to do with Fleeman. Still seems to align with what I was thinking. So let's go through and play a little bit and see if that's what it was. So this is 0304. I'm gonna start that up and we'll see. One of the things we could do is look at the different, add breakpoints to the different steps in the state machine, and so we can see when the Fleeman transition from one step to the next. That might be interesting. So let me find that function again and get the offsets for each of those. There was no, there will be labels, so that should be safe. So the steps are going to be down here. So this D03BC is going to be step 1, or step 0, sorry. Step 0 is where the entity isn't initialized. So I'm going to add, I'm just going to go through each of these labels then, the ones specifically related to steps, and add a breakpoint for those. And there's a bunch of Fleemen in here, so it may get a little too noisy, but we'll see. So then the next step is right before animate entity. And then right before move entity. And then right before a custom function. And then the last one's going to be a little harder to find. It shouldn't be too bad. Let me see what else is around this. It's down here on line 141. We're loading offset C. Okay, found it. And so we'll see how close I am to these guesses. Let's go. Unpause. So the flea men are right outside this save room. This is, I was playing this the other day. This is out of logic, long library before the, okay, so it's actually maybe not, maybe it is the flea man. So I've hit a flea man. I think I have enough strength to one-shot their armor. We're at breakpoint 03 BC. And 03 BC is the same as step 0. So this may be just the flea man by itself. I don't know. Or it could be separately the armor falling. So as I'll disable that breakpoint, and we likely will transition to the next very quickly. I won't have time to react. And so we see the explosion. We see the, oh no, you don't see anything. You don't see anything. There you go. We see the explosion. We see the armor kind of flying up here. And the code associated with that is animating the entity, checking the distance to the player, and then deciding based on that distance, like if it's relatively close, are we going from step 0 or sorry, going to step 3 or not, which is also somewhat interesting. But step 2 seems to just be used in a special case. I think I'll go through and basically kill everybody but one of the flea men without armor and see if I can trigger step 2. So step 1 is this initial animation, and that is at offset 46C. And so we'll transition to offset or step 3 relatively quickly. Step 3, we're going to check whether we're where we are in relation to the player. Check to see whether we're being hit or not, and that will randomly choose one of 2 sound effects with some probability, not necessarily, but there's a possibility. Yep, and we transition that right away. That's 5C4. Actually, 5C4 is step 4. Is that right? It looks like it. So maybe I had the wrong offset for step 3. So actually, that destroying that armor the second time did not trigger any of those. Oh, but I have those breakpoints disabled. So I'm not sure what... I guess there is some randomness with the explosions. I do think it is related to that armor, though. I will try another one over here. So there's a basically a quarter, 25% chance that you'll hit one of the conditions for the sound effect. But those also have to do with your position in relation to the flea man. Look at that. Destroy. It would be nice. Let me see what the other cases are here. So we have this params, which we don't know what it is yet. If that param is set, that's what gets us into step 2. But we don't know what that is. And then there's, it's, I guess likely my attack is too overpowered to hit some of these conditions. So let me take off the jewel knuckle, and I'll try again and see if I can trigger any of those. Which means I'll just die faster, but maybe we'll hit some of these breakpoints. No. No, I don't think any of those yet. I would like to... I don't know how many of those... Hopefully there are some off screen that I did not kill yet. There's at least one. Oh, but there's another guy too. So I think it's just me and this last flea man. Oh, there we go. Yeah, not hitting any of those other conditions though. Where did he go? That was interesting. Not something I've seen before. So he respawned, jumped off the screen, and then respawned at his starting location. Is that anybody in chat? Any something the night aficionados know about respawning? No! That was done. The soul steal once, can't get it again. Look at him just tear me up. So I want to get him to jump over. Come on. Go off the screen again. Well, none of these breakpoints are getting hit. There you go. Now he's gone. Ha! Take that, flea man, and now he's going to come back. This is a... Apparently this is a thing. Good to know. Was unaware of that behavior. Well, anyway, so we found some of the cases were able to trigger them, but not as many as I was hoping for. There is, I will go through actually, and I'm going to die relatively soon, but there are some other fleamen over here that may have slightly different behavior, which is what the param is used to deal with. Or it could be, I guess I should put the jewel knuckle back on, which it will be now. Target some sword with some range. I'm so bad. So bad. This is why I don't play on the stream very often. Usually exploration, not I can't cheese character then. Oh, I can cheese. I'm golden. Why didn't I do this the entire time? I can't cheese, I can't do anything. Come on. I don't have enough hearts? Oh. I'm scared. Oh, no, that guy's gonna kill me. It's only gonna kill me. Is it worse if naked fleaman kills you rather than armored fleaman? I don't know. Oh, there's more! There's more! They just keep coming! So... I don't... Oh, I'm not gonna make it down here. Oh, yeah. That. Oh, and I don't have enough hearts to be certain. There was one other area down here. I still have some breakpoints from that. I'm gonna try to run down there quickly. Just get past this room as quickly as I can. If I could reliably soul steal, this would go much quicker. What I wanted to do was get past Lesser Demon and see if the last breakpoint that I had in my list was... I wanted to use that on Lesser Demon. If he starts flying, I'm not gonna get him. Nope, wrong one. Last time. So if a Fleaman jumps off screen and gets despawned in a state that he can be respawned, is he going to have his armor back when he comes back on screen? And I think I'm at max hearts, unfortunately. Otherwise I would... oh, maybe not. I would farm hearts. So I just gotta be careful about not hitting up. So, yeah, I'm trying to see if there's anything past Lesser Demon. And there's one function that I haven't found in this section, and I just want to make sure that it's not not in this area of the stage. Good to have you back, down deep. I don't think there's anything over there. This is a soft lock. If you come down here with... oh, it is! It is! So F918 was at the top of this file. I'm glad I kept playing. Your mother tells you to stop playing. Tell her I'm just looking for a breakpoint. I didn't know for sure whether or not this function up here, the entity for that function, was going to be in this section of the long library or not, and it turns out it is. So let's kind of slowly go over and we'll destroy these busts and maybe figure out what this is. So the busts come into play. It's either the bus or the grate. I'm not sure which. So the vessels, which is what we call them, any of those containers that have items in them, they change to destroyed entities after they've been destroyed. So I'm going to re-enable this breakpoint, and it is triggering again. My guess is it's this grate. What I will try to do is add a return function immediately at that breakpoint, which will cause that entity to stop updating, which should help us identify what it is. So this is at CF918. Jump. And the debugger is not updating in capture either. That's what I'm seeing. So I need to go down to 1C. Let's see, F. Or 1. So 8 is here. So what I'm going to do is put in the a return instruction, and I have to do that in. I have to do two things carefully. One is sorry, just looking at the byte order, making sure I have the right byte order, which I think I do, and then making sure the next instruction is a no-op, which is fortunately easy enough. Let's try that, see how it goes. In real hardware, this would be cached, I believe. So I don't know what that station is going to do. If it's going to reload it or not. I don't have this breakpoint enabled. Okay. 5cc is being triggered. Oh, it's possible. Yeah, I screwed. That's what happened. Ah, drat. Oh well. Yeah, I probably put the instruction in the wrong byte order. Drat. Oh well. So now we're off into, we could reset the program counter actually, and we may, no, because the stack is going to be all messed up. And we're, yeah, just kind of in no man's land now. And that's how you break your session, but that's okay. So I think this is the gate. We can look at that later. maybe next week and identify that as well. But yeah, this ended up being a productive play session. If you want to know more about the Castlevania Symphony of the Night Decompilation project, you can go to sotn.z.dev and you'll find information about the project, overlays that we've decompiled, a link to GitHub, and a link to Discord. I'm here Monday through Thursday, noon Pacific time, for about an hour and a half today, a little longer. But that's all I have for you. So I'll see you all later. Dig down deep your comment about Mom, you can't pause an online game. That is definitely a conversation that happens in our house. Mom knows now, though, that online games can't be paused, so less so than a couple of years ago. That's all I have, though. Adios.